sacrificing. I do enjoy my job, and I love what I do, but I also want to get to a point where I have more control of my time.
Right.
So in order to do that, I have to be, I my entrepreneurial endeavors have to develop and come up, and so balancing the two elements is very hard. But I also realize if I don't make these sacrifices now, we won't be able to live the way that I want to when he's older. What I visualize for myself, I want to be fully present for Levi's, soccer games, football games. Right now he's young, and he's not playing any sports because he's only 2. But I have a few. I've given myself a window of time because I think for most people, their full-time job, it's not that they don't like what they do, it's the fact that they don't control their time. And for me, I know that's a huge issue, is being able to control my time. So the reason why I am so passionate about moving forward is because I want to get to a place where I'm in more control of my life and my time.
You're listening to your Bucket List Buster with Karen Duncan.
So what do your days off look like with your
Okay.
entrepreneurship?
Okay. So typically on a day off, well, my objectives with my entrepreneurial endeavors right now is everything related to my book. My book is just about finished, and I have to. I'm going through the publishing process. So
Nice.
putting it on the finishing touches of the book, submitting that to the editors, and then I'm self-publishing. So there are a number of things. I'm also working with a coach who's walking me through each step, which I'm really grateful for.
Nice.
So right now, it's the book, and the reason why the book has become such a great priority is because one of the things I really want to be is a speaker. So I want to speak at
Mm,
conferences. I want to speak to women's groups, and having my book complete kind of it legitimizes me as a speaker. B, it just opens up a lot of doors. So
right.
right now, the focus is the book. I've had a few opportunities to do speaking, but my focus is getting this book done, which is it's
Right.
literally like having a child. Like it
Yeah.
takes a lot of energy and time and concentration, and especially in my life where there's so many loud things around that demand my attention, and I have to get quiet in order to work on the book. So
Right.
that's what's challenging. So, so that's
Yeah,
a
that's
challenge.
good.
Yeah. But yeah, getting this book
Well,
done,
so
and
what's the name of the book?
also
Do you have a title for the book yet?
I do. It's called Settled to Soaring. Settled
Okay.
to
Settle to
Soaring. And
Soaring.
yes, and it's a book that's actually targeted towards people who are in their career. I'm really not speaking to young people just starting their lives, but I'm speaking to people who are comfortable in their careers and they've stopped challenging themselves
Mm,
in whatever capacity. There's a Benjamin Franklin quote that the book is kind of based on, and it's this: most people die at 25 but aren't buried until 75.
right. So
And
true.
yeah, it's true. I mean, when you're young and you're hungry, you're willing to learn, you're willing to go to school, you're willing to start at the bottom. And once you start your career, you get in a routine. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable and in a routine, but the issue is that most of us have so much potential. And it's not even a matter of making more money. It's um, we as human beings need to exercise our gifts. Otherwise, we're
Right.
unfulfilled.
Yep.
And I have a dear
So true.
friend. Yeah, I have a dear friend whom, he's to me represents a lot of people. He has a great job. He makes, 6 figures. And he went to school. He went to graduate school, but he's also a very gifted speaker. He's a gifted actor. Ever since he started working, and he's probably maybe 10, 20 years in his career. He's been there for a while. He's older. But ever since he's been working, he does not exercise any of his gifts, any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a consequence, he's really
Miserable.
bored. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he goes to work and watches football, and that is his entire life.
Yeah.
And it just because he makes money doesn't mean that it's okay for him to just sit on his talent.
That's
So
true.
that's the premise of the book. It's kind of like a wake up call for people who have reached that point, have worked hard, um, and they've reached a place of complacency.
Right.
Um, we just were never really meant to do that. And there's a number of examples that I use. Like if you think about a marathon runner. Now I've never run a marathon, but I've actually worked and trained a lot of people who have. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them describe that, towards the end of the marathon on that like 25th, 26th mile,
Yeah.
they're so exhausted that they can barely take another step. Physiologically, though, we know that if you can do 26.2 miles, you can easily do 27 miles.
Right.
But it's all about mentally training yourself. So they cross that 26.2, but in the same way, it's a metaphor for how we kind of operate. We work really hard to reach a certain point.
Yeah.
And once we achieve that certain point, we're capable of doing more, but we don't. We just don't. And
Right.
most people will, achieve what they need to achieve just to be able to make a comfortable living. But beyond that, they don't challenge themselves. So,
That's so true. That is so true. That is one of the reasons I live in Panama. That's one of the reasons I do podcasting. That's
yes.
one of the reasons, I've started singing in a band. All of those
Oh, that's
things.
awesome.
I'm very goal oriented. I've always been very goal. I was in sales, and I will say that, having worked, come up through corporate America in the day where they taught you how to do sales and sales goals and that type of thing. And it fit perfectly with my personality, but I was able to transition that into my life because
Yes,
I believe in accomplishing goals. I don't think that
yes,
just because you've attained one goal that you stop.
yes,
I
yes,
don't know how to live that way.
yeah,
I don't know how people live that way. I think that
yeah,
once you reach that goal, is then what other dream or goal have I had, or do I want to put on the table so that I
yeah,
can try that?
yeah.
One of my biggest regrets is my husband and I trained for a marathon in
Mm,
Austin, and we
mm,
did 19.6 miles in the race the month prior to the marathon, and I got
mm.
hurt. My feet gave out on me, so I was not able to
Oh,
actually ever run the actual marathon, and that has always stuck with me as something that I never accomplished. But I don't think
mm,
at almost 60 I'm going to try that now. Um,
mhm.
but
Yeah,
those are goals are meant to be attained, and then
yes.
you set. And I love that. I love the topic of your book. And one of the things
Thank you.
that in talking about, I'm here in this expat community, and one thing that I have learned about expats and living outside, when you make the decision to move outside of your home country, you tend to look for those things that you've always dreamt of doing. And you will find a lot
Mm,
of people in their later lives, they've worked and they've had careers, are now doing those things that they've dreamed about, whether it's volunteering or writing a
yeah,
book. We have
yes,
writers work here. We have, bands here that people are singing. We're not that great, but we're not that bad either, and it's just
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
You
yeah.
tend
Well, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, you just gotta. I love the book. I think
Yeah, thank you.
you're hitting a niche that people need to hear this,
Yeah.
and you
Well,
need to
and
hurry up.
well, thank you. I'm working on it. It's coming. Thank you. I'm glad that you mentioned your expat community. What I think is unfortunate, however, is that most people wait until they're
Mm-hmm.
retired or, they're much later in their life, and they can be doing that now. There are
Yes.
people in their 30s, their 40s, even their 50s. They have the time. They just
Yeah.
fill it with football and reality television, you know.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Hallelujah.
and 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 people can do it now. I'm again having my son really made me get a sense of urgency about my life. Just
Mhm.
seeing, how quickly he goes through his little stages and changes. Life is so precious and short. I may not have until I'm 65 to do a lot of the things I always dreamed about doing.
That's
And I
that's
think
so true.
we need to, yeah, I think we need to change the narrative because a lot of people are waiting to live and
I
you don't
so
have that
agree.
luxury. Yes.
Oh, this is
You
your
don't have the
life.
luxury. Yeah, it's your life.
Like
There are no reruns. This is not practice. Your
I
life
keep
is
telling
happening
people,
now.
life is your bucket list.
That's right.
You know,
Exactly.
life is
Exactly.
your bucket list. Whether you
Yeah.
write down goals or not. This every day that you wake up, you should have
Mhm.
something on that list or something in your mind that you've wanted to do that you hadn't
Yes.
done yet.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I agree. And so you're right. I think I'm so energized and empowered by people who are courageous enough to go after those things and be true to the things that they say they want. Most people, like I said though, wait until either a life catastrophe happens where it's a near
Yeah,
death experience or until they're older. And it does not have to be that way.
that's so true.
And one of the things that I really preach about in this book, and not to sound morbid or bring people down, but the truth of the matter is you get one life. One.
One.
What
That's
a
it.
shame it would be at the end of your life to have to live with regret, to have
Hmm.
been given all of these incredible gifts, have been interested in all of these things, and did anything to um, you never did anything to actually um, maximize your potential.
Yeah. So true. So
Yeah.
true. So true. And parents, if you're afraid, don't make your children afraid. That's the other thing. Don't hold back the gifts that your children have also because you were too afraid to do it. That's a whole nother book that you can write after now that you've got Levi and see his little
Yes.
wings spread as well. So let's talk about, you and Levi have. I want to talk about two things with you. One, you've started an organization or a Facebook page called Women on the Rise, and
Yes.
the other thing is you and Levi have done some traveling. So I want to make sure
Yes.
that we talk about those two things today. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about women on the rise.
All right. So tell us about Women on the Rise.
So I wanted to start a community of women that is uplifting and empowering. I think a lot of times when we open up social media, it's filled with things that bring us down, in that people are complaining about things in their life, they're complaining about politics or things like that. And they're also being bombarded with images that aren't realistic in terms of, um, for a lot of like young women, Instagram, they get
Mm-hmm.
on there and all the Instagram models kind of make you feel bad about yourself. So I wanted to be able to start a Facebook page wherein who um, people who people could actually, be bombarded with positivity and support. And what's been so incredible is that it's literally taken on a life of its own. Um, I started a group really not knowing what to expect. I really didn't even have much of a vision aside from the fact that I just wanted it to be a place of positivity and support.
Right.
Since then, a lot of women have shared their stories. They've been very vulnerable. And that's been just a beautiful thing. Like I said, it takes on a life of its own. We've got a lot of great things in store because this is such an active and viable group. There's a lot of things I want to do, and it's a really new group. It's only a couple of months old, so we've not had an official meetup, but that's something that we will be doing in the fall. Um, and I think having periodic times where we can all physically meet. But also, we, thanks to you, have teamed with you and your awesome travel